What is up and welcome back to another video. My name is Dallin Anderson. Today we're going to be learning how to invest Bitcoin market cycles. So a Bitcoin market cycle is when prices go from a way low point up to a high point and back down, just like any market cycle in the world. But we're specifically going to be learning about how to play, trade, and invest in Bitcoin market cycles. So we're going to learn a lot of really cool stuff today, and I'm super excited about today's video. Make sure that you stay clear till the very end so you can learn as much as you can. And yeah, let's get straight into how to trade and invest in Bitcoin market cycles. So, market cycles. As you guys can see here, we have Bitcoin on the 10-day candlesticks. And this is a really good example of a market cycle. So before we run over exactly the different phases of a market cycle, let's just go ahead and look at the main thing that happens in a market cycle. A market cycle means that the market is cycling. So it goes up, it goes down. It has cycles where it's in a bull market, it has cycles where it's in a bear market. In the case of Bitcoin here, you can see this huge parabolic run up. Parabolic basically just means that price increases faster and faster over time. You can see it starts to look like a skateboard ramp as prices are shooting up to $1,100 per coin. This was back in 2013, right here. You can see at the bottom of the chart, it gives the date, 2013. This is when I first started getting into Bitcoin in 2015. And this is when it started to go to $20,000 per coin. And you can see if we drag this chart up, you can see the price just skyrocket up out of there, right? But let's focus on this market cycle over here. So we're gonna delete these two circles, and you can see how price expanded and contracted. So it was in a bullish cycle all the way up to almost $1,200 per Bitcoin. Back here, it's peaked out right about 2014 right here. And you can see very clearly that that was an expansive phase of the market cycle and a contractive phase of the market cycle as prices were rising up right here and then crashing down here later. So let's look at an official market cycle example. This is called the Wall Street cheat sheet. And basically the Wall Street cheat sheet is very simple, but it's a market cycle and it shows not only what price does over time, but it also shows what human emotions occur over time. So you can see if we go back over here to Bitcoin, switch between these two charts, you can see a very similar pattern. So let's take this image. We'll actually copy and paste it onto our chart here. We'll make it a little bigger and easy to see. And you can see here how price followed that. This Wall Street cheat sheet, you can see that it looks very similar to a standard market cycle. This example, the Wall Street cheat sheet, is actually a picture of the internet bubble, the IXIC NASDAQ stock market. This is an example from the stock world, but because human emotion is the same, it doesn't matter whether you're trading stocks or gold or Bitcoin, human emotion is the same. Because of that, you get the same repeating pattern on Bitcoin. So what I've done here is taken every single human emotion in the cycle and labeled this market cycle on Bitcoin so you guys can easily understand, and so we can break this down a little bit for you. So the disbelief phase, like we mentioned earlier, is at the very start. That is when people are in disbelief that a market cycle is going to happen. That's exactly where we are at right now across the board on a lot of these coins, is disbelief. It started to rise a little bit, but people are really in disbelief that it's going to start a new cycle, which is their loss. If they're going to, be skeptical, there is no reward in life without risk taking. So you go from disbelief into the hope phase of the cycle. And as we learn how to identify these different parts of the cycle, this is how we position ourselves in the cycle. because we're able to see the emotion. So we go from disbelief into hope, into optimism here. People are starting to see prices rising very rapidly. You can see in correlation with the different emotions, people are getting very optimistic. Then you get belief. Now they're like, okay, it's not just we think it's going to happen, we're hopeful. It's we see it, we believe it, right? Because most people don't believe until they see, which is really sad, but we can see here that if you're able to believe before you see, if you're able to have faith and position yourself, if we took positions here in the disbelief phase, I didn't trade the cycle because I didn't get into Bitcoin until right here, right, in 2015, down in here. But if we would have had faith to invest in Bitcoin in this disbelief phase, then we could have reaped all the results of this huge increase in value. But most people wait to believe until they see, right? When I first got into Bitcoin down here in 2015, it took faith. Prices had crashed significantly in the short term, but I believed in it. So I kept learning about it and getting into it. Then you can see we go from that belief phase to the thrill phase. So like I said, if we can have faith before the cycle starts, which is what we're doing right now, then you can make money. But you don't have to see to believe. So you go from belief to thrill, then you go from thrill to euphoria. And euphoria is that state of psychology where people are just they made so much money or they're excited about it. They might be buying that top. A lot of people buy up here because they hear about it on the news. They think that when something is popular, it's time to get in. But really, when things are not popular and people think it's kind of like they're skeptical, that's when it's really time to get in, right? 2003 in the internet bubble, man, it was such a good time to buy after the crash because everybody was skeptical that the internet was going to be a long-term thing, which we know today that it is not only a long-term thing, but we really wouldn't have the world we have today without it. So you go from euphoria, everybody's excited, people are buying the top, they make the mistake. We've all done it, I've done it, of buying that euphoria phase of the market cycle. And of course, because everybody's buying and it's all over the news and everybody's excited, it's actually time to run. It's actually time to get out of the market. So if you're seeing price just go boom like crazy, in these big time frames, if you see this huge increase in value, it's likely that the market cycle is in euphoria. But we'll talk a little bit about how to identify each phase as it's happening. So complacency is next. Then you get anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation, which is just a fancy word for people are just getting out. They've experienced losses and they're just like, you know what? I'm just going to get out of the market. So they capitulate, then you get anger, then you get depression here at the very bottom. So the goal is actually to buy a market cycle somewhere between this new cycle phase, the disbelief phase, or the depression phase is obviously the most optimal because you're going to get the most financial reward with the lowest risk in that depression phase of a market cycle. So how do we trade Bitcoin? How do we trade crypto cycles? We look for three things when it comes to entries: disbelief phase, depression phase, and new cycle. Those are the things that truly are identifiable, and we're able to look at those things and say, you know what? This is a very good entry, very low risk. People are panicking, they're scared, or they're in a state of depression because they've lost so much of their money. Let's go ahead and buy their fear, right? Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. So that's what we do with this market cycle. Then you go into the new cycle, and of course, it happens all over again. So let's go into this new cycle. You can see price breaking out of the new cycle here, out of that depression phase down here. And price really starts to take off here, you can see. And look what it did all over again. You can see just the same way. We have a disbelief phase down here, thrill, euphoria up here, and guess what? Depression right here. Then a new disbelief phase and a new cycle. So you can see how that human emotion repeats, right? This cycle looks almost exactly like the previous cycle. There are differences, subtle differences, but the human emotion is the same. So that's how we're able to position ourselves as we look for this depression phase down here. We also look for this first sell-off or disbelief, it's called. Sometimes it's called the first sell-off, but it's called the disbelief phase right here. And we want to buy there, and we want to buy the depression phase, and of course, be selling when people are getting too excited, it's all over the news and stuff right there in the euphoria phase. So that's the strategy. You understand how to identify the human emotion, and then you position yourself based on that. And that's how we're able to play these cycles. So if we take and remove all these drawing tools real quick, let's just draw it real simple again one more time. This right here is the disbelief phase. People are in disbelief that it's going to increase in value. Probably not talked a lot about on the news unless it's negative. And then you get, boom, the euphoria phase up here. That's when everybody's talking about it. You go uptown to 7-Eleven or eat at a restaurant and people are talking about Bitcoin. The news is saying positive things. They're saying that it's going to go to like $1 million per coin, right? That's the euphoria phase of the cycle. And by the way, you can't only use news. When I say these things, I don't want you guys to go say, oh, the news said something positive about Bitcoin today. We better sell all our Bitcoin. It means that we're in euphoria. That's not what I'm saying. But at the peak of the cycle, there usually is a lot of media coverage, and it's usually very positive. But it doesn't mean that just because CNBC said Bitcoin looks bullish that it's going to crash, right? That doesn't mean, it might slightly in the short term, but there's a time frame thing. You have to understand scales and other stuff like that. So it takes a little bit more knowledge than just, oh, I'm going to do opposite of what the news is saying. But there is a correlation. There is a connection between when everybody is talking about it and it's overvalued, and when nobody's talking about it, and it's a good entry. But simply put, we get this euphoria phase, and then we go to the depression phase. This depression phase is where people are saying, this industry is dead. And the news is saying that, your friends are saying that. People are skeptical, they don't want to touch it, right? Because it's dropped so much in value, and all those people that bought the top because of news and their friends and stuff are now in a huge loss. So yeah, that's basically the market cycle, and the same thing happened over here. Happens over and over again. It repeats itself. This is why I tell you in these videos that we learn about eternal truth, because these principles have been the same since the very beginning. The same stuff that we use to trade Bitcoin here is the same stuff that we as humanity have been using since we've had publicly traded stock markets. Market cycles, human emotion, these are the same principles. They're unchanging. They're consistent over time. That's why I can teach you these things in confidence, is because it's eternal. It's these principles are always the same. It's a law. It's a principle. So let's go ahead and look at the market cycle chart here. You can see this huge euphoria, anger, depression, just everything that we've been talking about. Just everything that we've been talking about today with the Wall Street cheat sheet. What's crazy about this, and what I think about a lot, is how this information is completely public to anybody, and yet very few people use it or learn about it. So that's why we're learning about it today, so we can get this information out to more people, because it really can change lives. So if you see the disbelief phase down here, the euphoria, the depression, let's go back over here. This is the stock market. So we've been learning about how to trade the market cycle on Bitcoin on the 10-day time frame. But here is the entire stock market. Same time frame as Bitcoin, okay? This is the internet bubble. This is the depression phase of the internet bubble, 2003. Now, if we would have asked people at our favorite restaurant in 2003 if it's time to invest in the internet, they would have said no, because all of the news articles, people were skeptical in 2003. The internet bubble had crashed, right? It popped. But what they don't tell you is that it recovered afterwards. And the people that bought this depression phase of the stock market after the internet bubble reaped significant rewards for doing that, for buying the dip, for buying the fear, for doing what we talked about earlier and what Warren Buffett says, to be greedy when others are fearful. So you can see that's a prime example of disbelief, euphoria, depression. It doesn't have to be the Bitcoin markets for us to use what I'm teaching you today or learning here today. So that's a really good example of why you buy fear, even if people at your favorite restaurant are telling you no. In fact, doubly so if they are. That's when you really want to buy. So you can see this huge breakout. Of course it recovered after the internet bubble. Of course the stock market recovered. Things don't go down forever, right? Just like they don't go up forever. That's what this cycle is all about. That's why we learn about these cycles. So that's really cool. You can see that both Bitcoin and the NASDAQ both have the same cycle. So let's talk about how this applies today, okay? Let's go to ADA. We made a video about ADA yesterday. I made a video. So we talked about ADA a little bit. And let's see if we can take a second and identify each phase in the cycle. So before I tell you, ask yourself, what phase of the cycle are we in right now? Where's the euphoria? Where's the depression? The disbelief phase? Where are we at right now? And how can we use this Wall Street cheat sheet chart to position ourselves, if not perfectly, very good in the cycle? And you can see here that this right here is the disbelief phase. You can see that price started to rise, it comes down, people are in disbelief down there. Then you get euphoria up here and depression at the very bottom of the chart. So what I invite you guys to do this week is to hop on tradingview.com, go to the 10-day candlesticks, and then go to coinmarketcap.com and start looking at the different cryptocurrencies and pick one of them. Then go back over to TradingView, and if you've got TradingView free, you'll have to use the 1 week time frame because these are only available for TradingView Pro, but 1 week or 10-day is very similar. You just have to make sure you're zoomed out so you can zoom in and out with your mouse here. You can stretch the chart up and down. You can see the volume on the bottom, the price right here. The red candlesticks as price goes down, the green candlesticks as price increases. So you can pop up here. I invite you guys to hop on TradingView and start looking at some of these cryptos. Maybe you have one that's your favorite, it could be Dogecoin, it could be Solana, it could be Cardano. Find your coin, go to the 1 week time frame or the 10-day if you have TradingView Pro. Zoom out to where you can see the whole cycle. You have to be able to visually see it, just like this market cycle chart. So you'll have to stretch the chart in the right spot to where it's centered and clear, but it's easy to do. And you just pull up this market cycle chart and you can go ahead and look. It's just free on Google. Market cycle will pop right up on Google Images. Then you can compare your favorite crypto. I invite you guys to do this, to compare your favorite crypto with the market cycle and determine where you are at in the cycle, and ask yourself what you should do to make the most money over time investing. So you can see Cardano here, Cardano, depending on who you ask, because you'll get into pretty heated debates about how to pronounce that one. You can see that it did a perfect market cycle and it's breaking out of that depression phase into that disbelief phase. It's not just going to go like this, right? It's going to have to come up here, go like that, build some basing structure before it really takes off, but we're starting that new cycle here with ADA. So you can see how useful this market cycle chart is. This is what the biggest players in the world use. That's why we're learning about this today, because I want you guys to be able to invest in these markets and make money confidently. So that is how we do that. We use the market cycle chart. That's basically one of the most important parts of the strategy that we learn about on this channel, that we talk about in the Discord, how we find entries in the VIP area in the Discord. We're using this market cycle chart a lot. So that's why I decided to make a free video for you guys today, because I want more people in the world to know about this. It's crazy to me that only Wall Street knows about this. That's why they're able to make so much money off recessions, all of the economic volatility in the world. They understand this market cycle chart and they are getting rich off of it. And we can too. That's why we're doing this video today. So that is Cardano. You can see it's starting to break out of that depression phase. It looks like it's ready to start a new cycle. That's how we position yourself with this cycle. Now let's look at silver. Just because I want you guys to understand very clearly that this is applicable to any market in the world. But we trade crypto because it's more volatile, we make more money. So let's go ahead and go to the 1 month time frame here. Silver's a lot bigger time frame, so we have to not 10-day candlesticks, but we're using 1 month candlesticks. If you look at silver here, what's really neat about silver is it's the same thing again, you guys. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? How that happens over and over again, that human emotion does on different time frames in different markets. We can make so much money understanding this one thing. So you can see here, here's the disbelief phase of the market cycle. Then we get the euphoria phase, then we get the depression phase, just like how we looked on the other charts. And look what it's doing. It's doing just exactly what Cardano did, which was break out of that bottom, come back down here to this nice little channel. It's starting a new cycle. So for my silver people out there, because we have a lot of silver guys that watch this channel, shout out to you. We're getting out of that depression phase into the disbelief phase, which is why a lot of people are kind of still hesitant. Should I put money in silver? Should I not? Yes. According to the market cycle chart and what we're learning today and everything that this chart can do for you, this chart is showing that silver is a great buy right now. It's very undervalued. It's going to start a new cycle. And when it starts that new cycle, it's going to do what Bitcoin did. Or actually we'll use Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a great example. And we can actually take here silver on the top, Bitcoin on the bottom, line these charts up very nicely here to where you can see the same thing is going on. You can see Bitcoin took a little bit of time to build its basing structure as well. But that's exactly what silver is doing right now, is it prepares to go into a new cycle. So that's why we use market cycles, because it's effective and it teaches you exactly where you're at in the cycle so that you can do opposite of what everybody that's losing money is doing. You buy when they're fearful, right? They're selling down here. So that's a really nice example of how these cycles repeat in all markets, all time frames over time. But they do appear at different time scales. So silver up here, we're on the 1 month candlesticks. You can see 1 month up here in the top left. If we click on Bitcoin on the bottom, we're on the 4-day. So crypto moves a lot faster too. Another reason why we trade crypto is because we're able to produce 10x, 25x, 30x gains over the period of like a year and sometimes shorter. If it's a bigger market cap, it might take 2 years. But we're able to do large profits on these coins with very short periods of time because it moves in a faster time scale. But it doesn't matter, the cycle is the same. So with crypto, how we trade the crypto cycles is we buy in times like right now, and then we hold over the period of 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Could be a little bit, it could be longer than that. You might have a long-term approach where you're just riding the cycles. But overall, the most money is usually made in those 1 year, 2 year, shorter cycles with crypto. So you're buying these depression phases, you're holding on while everybody gets excited, they buy it, and then you're selling into their excitement. So that's how we trade the market cycle. Super, super useful information and definitely something that's important to have in your trading book. I hope that it has provided some value for you guys today. As a cryptocurrency community, I really believe that we need more videos that are just the basics, market cycles, how to get started investing, because these are the types of things that people like you that are new to crypto, or even people that have been around for a while, a lot of people still need the basics, because even though they've made money and stuff like that, it's always getting those fundamental basics down, which is how you're able to solidify your trading strategy and effectively trade these markets over time, even if you have your gains and your losses along the way, because you're going to learn a lot. So this is Dogecoin. And we're going to use Dogecoin real quick here, last example. We're going to go to Dogecoin over here on Poloniex. And if we pull up Dogecoin on Poloniex right here, you guys can see another example of this market cycle, last example for the day. You can see here is the disbelief phase. Here's the euphoria phase. This is Dogecoin on the top and Bitcoin on the bottom. Then you get the depression phase on Dogecoin. And that is exactly where the point of maximum financial opportunity is, because the lowest risk happens after a large crash. Because if something's dropped 93% in value, the likelihood of it dropping another 90% in value drops significantly. It's not impossible, but it drops significantly. So then you can see the disbelief phase, the euphoria phase, and the depression phase here on Bitcoin. So one of the reasons we're watching Dogecoin isn't because it's a meme coin or whatever. We don't really care about any of that. We care about the fact that the volume is high down here, really high, that the cycle is in a perfect spot, that we have a very low risk entry because of the depression phase of the cycle, and that our potential reward is very significant. So we don't gamble. We trade probabilities. We position ourselves exactly how Wall Street positions themselves, and with the same tools. That's why it's called the Wall Street cheat sheet, because people in Wall Street use this every day. And I know because I learned from people that learned from pros, right? Zoom calls, Discord calls, with people that had traded and invested with pros, and they taught me the basics of market cycles. I also bought courses. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on courses, watched videos. I've been doing this since 2015. So when you've been doing something for that long, you generally, if you're dedicated, you want to go straight to where the pros are and learn what they're doing. And thankfully, I was blessed enough to have friends that knew stuff that reached out to me because of my channel and taught me a lot. So I'm super thankful for them. So yeah, I believe Dogecoin is in that depression phase of the market cycle. It's a great entry down here. There's a lot of volume. It reminds me of Bitcoin when I first got into it. So that's how we trade these cycles, you guys. Dogecoin could be a great entry for the next 2-3 years. Buy down here. Well, the entry won't be good for 2 or 3 years. But if you buy down here, this isn't financial advice, over the next 2 or 3 years, prices are very likely to continue to rise. So it's a good entry right now, but over the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to reap the results of having that faith and buying depression. Because it takes a lot of faith to buy the depression phase, but not if you know the cycle. Really, you just get so excited that it's almost like you just want to figure out every single humanly possible way to buy. So that's what I'm doing, I'm figuring out, let's get more money in this because we're going to make a ton of money off this cycle, you guys. I'm really excited. So thank you so much for tuning into today's video about market cycles. Learn how to identify that disbelief, the euphoria, the depression. Again, I invite you guys to check out tradingview.com and coinmarketcap.com. I do have links in the description for TradingView, by the way, as well. So you can sign up with that link and find a coin on here and figure out where it's at in its cycle. You're going to have to stretch the chart. I have 2 charts up here right now. We'll just make it 1. You're going to want to stretch the chart to the right size and get it in the center of the chart so you can see it clearly, the prices and everything. But once the cycle's in the right spot here, you guys can see that it's pretty easy to identify the market cycle here. So that's what I invite you guys to do this week. Very, very powerful information and something that the world needed. So that's why this video is made. And I appreciate you guys, and go try some of this market cycle investing and trading out. Look and see where your favorite coin is at in the cycle. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's little video. I hope that you enjoyed it and learned something about trading and investing in Bitcoin market cycles. If you apply these things and continually learn, you will see the results of your investing strategy. These market cycles work really well. The reason why the biggest investors in the world trade cycles like Wall Street is because the human emotion always repeats. And yeah, I'm just super excited. So thank you for tuning in. Like I said before, I will see you in future videos. Check out the Discord below, completely free, and the website as well. If you want to see some VIP information, click that below. Check that out. I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos. And as always, stay profitable out there.